video. Demons and secret societies. Yes, there is a spiritual component to your harassment. There is a spiritual component to what is going on in the world. And I'm not just talking about the things that are in the news, I'm talking about everything. And targeted individuals talk about that. The firemen are after them, the first responders are after them, the cops are after them, the government's after them, the secret societies are after them. Everyone is after them. How could everybody just be a government employee? How could everybody just be speaking with people at the Fusion Center? How is it possible that all these things are happening for people who experience higher forms of harassment? The logistical possibilities just don't work. Not everyone could be a government employee. Well, how does it work? Because we know that there are things like MK Ultra. We know that positions of power are used, and there is a hierarchy on our planet. Okay? And I think people are becoming confused, and they're focusing on the puppets, and they don't understand what's really happening. They're not going down the rabbit hole. They're not seeing the bigger picture. And, the whole thing works in the favor of people who are propagating this because people just look nuts. Oh, the firemen are after me. And well, there's a way that people are involved in this, but it's not in the way that most of the targeted individuals out there are understanding it, or at least not properly. Okay. Can law enforcement be? Yes. Can people in power, can secret societies? Of course. The scary part about this is that everybody's involved in the sense that there is a hierarchy in our world, and there is a dispensation of power that goes all the way back after the Tower of Babel. Okay, well, technically it goes from before that, but in order to understand what's going on, in order to understand what the Bible is communicating, in order to understand what's happening to you and how all these people are involved, you have to understand who's in charge, okay? And it goes from the top down. I hear people saying that all the time. The Freemasons, well, yeah, they're involved. All the secret societies are involved. And we're going to take a look at how this works. We're going to do a jet flyover over it, and we're going to look all the way back to the Garden of Eden because we have to, okay? That's really the starting point, okay? Man was the image bearer of God. He was the one in the garden. He was God's representative on the planet. Where there was an angelic rebellion. Eve was tempted. She was deceived. She gave the fruit to Adam. We got kicked out of the garden. And then, the rest kind of progressed from that. Okay, and then we had the Genesis 6 account where the daughters of men mixed with the sons of God. They saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and that's talking about angelic beings. Some people call it the Nephilim. Other people think it's something else, and the Nephilim were just there. However you process it, we can call it the Nephilim, we can call it whatever. But there was that copulation, and there's a lot of proof that that's what happened. It wasn't just the sons of Seth, okay? Because it's referenced in the New Testament as a deviation that has to do with sexual immorality, okay? I'm not going to go into all those scriptures. Like I said, it's a jet flyover. And then we had the flood, okay? But up to that point, the angelic realm had been mingling with humans, and they had been giving them knowledge and wisdom and so on and so forth, and everyone was just evil. A lot of people speculate that that was an attempt to corrupt the seed of the woman that was prophesied to crush the head of the serpent, the kingdom of Satan. Okay, and it probably was. But that's not the point. Well, we're going into the mechanisms of this whole thing, okay? So after the Genesis 6 account, after the flood, then mankind started to do the same thing again, okay? However you want to look at that. A lot of people will say that the books of Enoch and Cain were hidden somewhere, and that, there were giants and stuff like that. There might have been another ark. We don't have all that information, but we know that they were they were in the world after the flood too. And the whole thing kind of happened again. And so then they had the Tower of Babel incident, was when man was interacting with these principalities and powers, and they created a ziggurat, okay? And that's basically, it's like a pyramid or a temple, and it has to do with summoning these beings and trying to control them and get power and so on and so forth. And God had enough, and he handed the nations over to the principalities and powers, over to the sons of God, according to their number. You get that in the Table of Nations, which is 70 to 72 nations, which is why Christ sent out 72 apostles apart from the 12 original apostles. And they went into Gentile territory, and Christ was sending the world a message. He was basically picking a fight, okay? And we're gonna look into all that because I don't think people understand what was really happening. So the seed of the woman that was prophesied in the Garden of Eden was Christ, okay? God started over with Abraham after the Tower of Babel, and he basically elected him and his lineage, the Jewish people, to bring forth the seed of the woman. That's Christ, okay? And so when he showed up on the scene, all kinds of things started to happen, okay? And they knew that he was here. That's the explanation of why Jesus was confronted by the legion of demons. When Christ crossed over the Sea of Galilee into Gentile territory, he met the demoniac. That's in Mark 5, Matthew 8, and Luke 8. They knew who he was. What do you have to do with that? Have you come to torment us before our time? They didn't know, because they knew the seed of the woman was prophesied, and they knew that he was going to judge them and judge the world. And they were trying to figure out what was going on. They asked him not to send them into the abuso, into the abyss. Some people would say the storm that Jesus calmed, that he ran into before he got there, was a spiritual attack against him to try and stop him from leaving the territory set aside as a portion for the God of Israel. And ultimately, they set out to kill him. If they would have known that crucifying him was going to take away the title deed to the earth, and that he was going to get the keys to the death, hell, and the grave and all that, they wouldn't have done it. But that's what they were doing. When Satan tempted him in the wilderness and took him up to the high place and asked him to jump down to prove he was the Son of God, that's what they were doing. They were kind of feeling it out. They wanted to know if they could kill him or not. And they're like, well, let's find out what's happening, because if we kill him and he just heals himself or something, this isn't going to work. But he didn't give in. He knew what was going on. Okay. And so that was the seed of the woman. Okay, the Jews were elected to bring forth the Messiah. Okay, and when he sent out the 72, he was sending them a message. That's the same as the Table of Nations. Okay, and the time of the nations, as the gospel goes out, the good news, that is the time where the world has a chance to reconcile and submit to the high priest, the Messiah, and escape the wrath to come. And as far as the principalities and powers, well, they're pretty much already doomed. They've already been judged. And they're trying to destroy and take captive as many people as possible and persecute the Jewish people who brought forth the seed of the woman. Okay? And so that's really where this whole thing started, right? And then you have, after the Tower of Babel, you have all the nations, right? The kingdoms that are talked about. And that is the seven-headed beast that comes up out of the sea in the book of Revelations, okay? And it represents all the kingdoms that started after the Tower of Babel. It starts out with ancient Egypt, it goes to Assyria, Babylon, Media, Persia, Greece, Rome, the Ottoman Empire, and then the final kingdom is going to be a revived seventh, which is the Ottoman Empire, right? So it's going to be a revive, which is here right now, by the way. We're not going to go into that. Okay, and so all the secret societies go back to Egypt, okay? Like when you're dealing with the Rosicrucians or the Freemasons or the Illuminati, and we're going to get into that, you're dealing with hidden wisdom and hidden knowledge, okay? And so it basically started out in Egypt, and then, when you get in, we're not going to do all the years and the time frames of all this, but if you're going to just do a quick jet flyover of the secret societies, you would start out understanding that there was a mingling between the human beings and angels. Then you would move up to after the flood, which there was, of course, the Tower of Babel. And Noah and his family didn't have the knowledge given to them for the requirements to build Babylon, which is basically symbolic of a religion that would defy God. They built the ziggurat, of course, and God handed over the nations to the sons of God according to their number after that, which are the principalities and powers. But I already talked about the first head, which was Egypt, of the seven-headed beast. But you have hybrids, okay? We don't have those listed in the patriarchs. And I would suggest you go into Dr. Michael Heiser's work or others like him to look at that. You have the Shadeen or the Anakim, Some people say that they mixed and mingled with the Canaanites and stuff, and that's why that God had to destroy them all. With other places, it talks about them just being driven out of the land. And some people say, well, no, it was just idolatry. I suggest you look into that yourself. But the point is, you have the sons of God interacting with men, you have mixtures, and you also have royal lineages and royal bloodlines. And that goes up all the way into our modern day, and that's where you get this hierarchical system. You have at the lower level, you have the Freemasons, and you have the Illuminati, then you have the Rosicrucians, then you have the Committee of 300, then you have the Council of 33 and the 13 families. Okay, so the Freemasons, they're into politics and military. Then you have the Illuminati. Their job is to destroy Christianity. You have the Rosicrucians, of course, they're still passing out the hidden knowledge and hidden wisdom. They were also in charge of preserving the history. And there's a mixture between the Rosicrucians and the Freemasons, and that gets into different bloodlines. And then you have the 300, that's mixed bloodlines. You got people like Bill Gates with money coming in. And the hierarchical system runs from the top down. So there's a mixture also in there of the Freemasons and the Rosicrucians. And the purebloods are handing out the orders to the underlings. Then you have the 13 families at the top, the royal lineages. But really, it goes from the principalities and powers down to the disembodied spirits of those who were killed, during the Genesis 6 account. And they are the foot soldiers who are controlling all these individuals involved in this hierarchical system and all these secret societies. I forgot to mention the Templars. That's where you get the banking system, the Bilderbergers and the Rothschilds. And depending on your lineage or your bloodline, and also connections, that's really where you are established in this hierarchical system. Okay? All this involves lineages and bloodlines, but it also involves geography. Okay, it's a very interconnected, organized system. The axiom revolves around the false Babylon religion and the dispensing of a type of philosophical, hidden wisdom, secret knowledge, type of polytheistic, deceptive religion that is designed to deceive the world, blind them, and basically take the nations captive. And at the end of the whole thing, you are dealing with a revolt, a rebellion, like it was in the beginning against the God of Israel. You go all the way back, like I said, this whole destiny philosophy, the whole world is being controlled by these principalities and powers, and they have a dimensional perspective. They are outside of time and space, believe it or not, okay? You're dealing with a spiritual dimension, right? And they have a different perspective, and they can see things and they can work things out. God ultimately has power and control, but he has handed over the world to them, okay? And if you're going to be saved, you're going to be saved out of their system. And so technically, if you do not get saved out of their system, if you do not submit to Christ, basically, they are the masters of your destiny. They have a plan for your life, okay? And when you're dealing with targeted individuals, they've got a plan for you. And a lot of people will be really confused and awestruck by the harassment they are, experiencing. It seems like it's set up in advance, and so because it is. Okay, they have a plan for you. All right, they have a plan for your life. And as far as I can tell right now, if you're a targeted individual, more than any type of government program or anything, you have to look at the source of all this. Is to discredit you, eliminate you, drive you crazy, and destroy you, and use you for social coercion. Okay? Is it possible the government's experiment? It's possible. Okay, they do that kind of thing. But when people fixate on like MK Ultra or whatever, which is real, they're missing the bigger picture, because there is a bigger picture here. Okay, a lot of people that are dealing with voices in their head and stuff like that, or they're dealing with a lot of symptoms, and they believe that it's microwave weapons. It could be, okay? And it's not to say that wouldn't be involved, because it all comes from the top down, and technology technically comes from the spiritual dimension, in case you haven't been paying attention to what I've been saying, okay? And who knows what they're using. But the point is when you put it all into this government thing, you're missing the bigger picture. because there is an agenda, and it is to destroy humanity, is to blind people, to get them to buy into this destiny philosophy. And that whole destiny thing has to do with basically denying and resisting the God of Israel, who they believe is oppressive. Okay? And that goes all the way back. And that has to do with the angelic rebellion. That has to do with the rebellion of man along with them in the Tower of Babel. And it's been that way ever since. Okay? And so when people are looking at this stuff, even from a Christian point of view, they're not usually getting the picture. A good example would be the Catholics or the Catholic exorcists. They'll think, for example, when people are possessed, they're possessed by fallen angels. They don't understand the hierarchy. Am I saying that the deep Vatican doesn't know? I don't know what they know. Okay? But one thing I know for sure is they're not teaching that kind of stuff. And a lot of people that are involved in Christianity, they're ignorant when it comes to these things. Okay, they believe a lot of crazy stuff that's just not in the Bible. They believe that the Antichrist is the Pope, which he has nothing to do with that. Okay, they believe that the Antichrist is coming out of Europe. That's not what the Bible is communicating. They don't understand any of these things. Okay, and it all goes into it. Really, technically, if you follow it all the way back to the Garden of Eden, not only are you looking at what's happening as far as the secret societies are concerned, but you are looking at the mystery of the abomination of desolation of the Antichrist. You're looking at the image of the beast. You're looking at the number of the beast. You're looking at all of it, man. And it's all going to culminate. And all that destiny philosophy is going to culminate in kind of a showdown with the God of Israel. And you can see that when you look at prophecy. Okay? It's pretty crazy. It's insane. And it all started with an angelic rebellion. Okay, it's a type of legal scenario. And when you're dealing with harassment, when you are dealing with all these things that just seem beyond, that's how it's possible. Okay, because it's not just people. Okay, it's not just the secret societies. It's not just the fusion centers or the government or whatever. Okay, but it can manifest through a lot of that stuff, because a lot of targeted individuals are dealing with neighborhood harassment or workplace harassment, or they're dealing with harassment from law enforcement in their community. They're dealing with all kinds of things. They might be getting hacked on their phone, or dealing with stuff at the bank or whatever, and it just seems like it's everywhere. They can't get away, because it is, okay? And it's not to say, though, that it's just some government agent that's calling everyone. See, that's where people are going wrong. Okay, it's bigger than that. It is huge. This stuff goes way down the rabbit hole. So when targeted individuals are dealing with control programming or things that seem like they're set up in advance, so that's how it's working. These things are planned out, and they attack people in mass. Okay. So like when you're dealing with things that involve the Mandela effect, or a lot of people refer to The Simpsons. Oh, there's just no way. It's predicting the future. Or they'll have deja vu or whatever they're going to be dealing with. That's how it's working, okay? Because you're dealing with individuals who are being controlled by principalities and powers who are outside of time and space, outside of our dimension, and they have a dimensional perspective. And, we're kind of catching up. I mean, I'm not exactly sure how all of it works exactly, but that's what you're dealing with when you're dealing with the soothsayers and so forth, or individuals who have that secret knowledge, that hidden wisdom, false prophets. That's how it works, okay? And they are deceiving the people that are involved in this hierarchical system. And, they are kind of the masters of destiny. That's the religion that they are pushing, okay? Under all these things, it's always a type of destiny. Right? And they control the world. They've been given that until Christ returns. You can be saved out of that. But of course, what's going to happen? You're going to experience persecution, right? And a lot of people will be disillusioned by that. They'll say, well, what's going on? Because God hates me. No, he would, he'd be very inconsistent. Look at all the corruption in the government or whatever. Or you can look in Psalm 82, when the principalities and powers, they were condemned and they were called unjust. So look at it, read it. And they were going to die like men. They were going to fall like a prince. like a human being. Okay, so they've already been judged and they're running the place right now. Okay, so there's going to be injustice. There's going to be a lot of things. What about the people who are harassing you? They're not experiencing sleep deprivation or financial problems or persecution or anything. They don't have a care in the world, right? Why? Because they're part of that system, right? Now think about it. They might benefit in that way, but it's going to be very temporary because the majority of your existence is after this lifetime. Right? It's just a very small fraction of your existence. Right? After that, it's going to be eternity. And if people don't come out of that system, if people do not submit to Christ, they're going to hell. So when you're dealing with that type of clairvoyant street theater, you're getting comments from people you've never met. They seem to know your personal business. Is it possible that they've got cameras in your house? Maybe. Is it possible they've hacked your phone? All that, all those things are possible. There's a lot of ways that this can work, but it doesn't have to work that way. And people restrict themselves when they're not looking at the bigger picture that involves the spiritual dimension, where you have different spirits, you have unclean spirits, you have familiar spirits, you have principalities and powers, and not only can they, watch you without that and know things, they can literally see you do those things in advance, okay, according to however you want to process that, whether it's time dilation or whatever, or divine manipulation or whatever. However you want to process that, they have a plan. That's how there's prophecy, okay? That's how the soothsayers know little things, and there's all kinds of manipulation. And like I said, not all the specifics are known about that. But that's a lot of the stuff that targeted individuals are dealing with. And when they try to shoehorn everything in to a government project, and then they start, going into all types of theories of how they've got an implant in their brain or whatever. And, some of that stuff might be true. Okay, the government's working on that. And like I said before, technology comes from the spiritual dimension. I would imagine there's things even beyond that, things that we can't even see, things that don't even involve metal or whatever that could be implants that just look like a benign tumor in your body. I'm not saying there isn't technology being used. Okay, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it's bigger than that. Okay, it's way bigger than that. And they attack people in mass. For example, I've done videos on controlled programming before where it just seems like, maybe there's a commercial or, a talk show or something, and it seems like they're talking to you. Okay, I've heard a lot of targeted individuals talk that way, or they'll watch a movie and there seems to be little key conversations or whatever. And some of that comes from sensitization and people are reading into things, but that's targeting people in mass too. Okay? Okay, when you're sensitized to something, it's done for a reason, and it's to get you to pay attention to certain things in your environment. I've also referenced the Mandela effect several times, okay? They did that on purpose. Okay, it's classic gaslighting. They want you to start to question your perception. They want you to question yourself. They also want you to question the world around you, right? Because people don't know about that time dilation or that dimensional perspective. They don't know about the principalities and powers. They don't know about the spiritual dimension and how they're manipulating the world around you. And then you get all these conspiracy theories that the government has created a type of, time porthole or whatever with HARP or the Hadron Collider or other things they're experimenting with. And it's not that, okay? It's not that at all, okay? It's demonic, literally. There are a lot of people who don't like thinking about the spiritual option because it just scares the hell out of them. I mean, they already feel like they're out of control, or they've been rubbed the wrong way and they feel condemned, or they've had maybe some nasty experiences in churches. There's a lot of stalking that goes on there. Okay, the enemy puts up a pretty big network in the local churches. Okay, I've seen it firsthand. But then, of course, there's the other people who are working for the enemy, the shills, who is, you're saying it's demons, it's all neural monitoring and it's all technology and you're being ridiculous. And, I know what I'm talking about. Okay, I've been doing this for decades. And the people that are very abrasive when it comes to that, they have an agenda. Okay. So I know what you're up to. Don't even waste your time putting it in the comments because I already know what's going on. And I've explained this stuff logistically. People who put it all in one basket, they run into huge logistical problems. Now everybody belongs to the Freemasons, or everybody belongs to the government, or they're working for the Fusion Center, or the cops, or whatever. But it's a bigger picture than that. Okay, you wonder how people are getting in to your apartment. Okay, you've got gun keys, you've got bump keys, you've got master keys, man. You've got a hierarchical system in this world where the principalities and powers and the powers that be, they can pull this stuff off, and they've got your number ahead of time. Okay, this has been planned out. They're buying into this whole destiny philosophy, and a lot of the people that you're being targeted by, you wonder how it's working. Oh, who's paying you? Who came and talked to you? It might not be that way at all. They may have been taken aside when they were kids and even said, well, this is your destiny. This is how it's going to work for you. And here's this person over here. And they, show a little picture of you. And so this person is going to become part of your life. And here's what you're supposed to do. Okay, I'm serious. Okay, not everybody is just being contacted by a damn fusion center. Yeah, the government's involved. Yeah, the secret societies are involved. A lot of people can be involved. Okay, and when I hear targeted individuals saying that the firemen are after them, okay, it's bigger than that, man. The first responders and it's a network of people, and they're all talking on their phone. They don't have to. Okay, sometimes it works that way. It's bigger than that. And I hate it when I hear targeted individuals going into the speculations about technology and they forget all about the spiritual application. Right? You are being discredited. You are being driven insane. You are being used for social coercion, for experimentation. People are feeding on you. That's the other aspect of this too. It's like spiritual vampirism. Okay? They get these people to work for them with more than just money sometimes. Okay? And it does involve the spiritual dimension. Thanks for watching.